My name is Eleanor West. I am 58 years old, and until today, I thought I knew love and loyalty within my family. The frigid air of the parlor wrapped around me like a suffocating shroud as I stood at the center of my own home, once a sanctuary, now a battlefield. The laughter flickering off the walls sounded mocking, a symphony of betrayal played out by those I had once considered my own. Catherine, my daughter-in-law, stood before me, her triumphant smile sharp enough to cut. She held the freshly printed will, my husband's last testament, his betrayal laid bare. "I'm so sorry, Eleanor, but your husband has made it clear. You are disinherited. All that he created now belongs to me," she declared, the words flowing from her lips like honey laced with poison. Each syllable felt like a knife twisting deeper into my heart, forcing me to confront the grim reality. I was no longer the matriarch of this family, but merely an unwelcome ghost haunting the life I had nurtured for decades. As I stood there, clad in my familiar floral dress, I could feel the icy air seep into my bones. It was the kind of chill that matched the frost in Catherine's gaze, a clear reflection of the disdain she turned on me like a flame to kindling. The room swirled with the scent of fresh-cut flowers, so quaint, yet utterly hollow. Memories began to stir within me, intrusive flashes of my life with Robert, my late husband. The dinners we shared, the laughter of our children echoing against the walls, the warmth of familial bonds that now seemed to have vanished without a trace. Around me, the faces that had once beamed with love now wore masks of amusement, their eyes glinting with delight at my misfortune. Jonathan, my son, stood rigid beside Catherine. I met his gaze, searching for any flicker of empathy, but found only the shadow of a man ensnared in his wife's grasp. I felt a lump in my throat, a tidal wave of grief crashing against my will to remain composed. The very idea that my life, my sacrifices, were now jokes to them sent my heart racing. I had sacrificed so much for this family, my career, my aspirations, my own identity, folding myself into the background to support my husband's rise as the head of a prosperous business. While Robert flourished, I became the quiet caretaker, the unwritten chapter in our story. I had endured years of superficial warmth disguised as family, a facade I desperately clung to, believing it was a testament to our shared integrity. But in that moment, as I stood there broken, I recognized the emptiness in all those sacrifices. "Do you understand what this means?" Catherine continued, her voice dripping with the condescension of a conqueror. "You're nothing without him, just a relic of the past." Each word landed like a stone, heavy and irrevocable. I fought to keep my composure, the tremor in my hands betraying my internal struggle. These moments of humiliation were too far removed from the love we once shared. The warmth of family gatherings filled with laughter, now replaced with chilly, condescending barbs. I was losing everything I had built, a lifetime of dedication reduced to a cold statement on a piece of paper. Yet beneath the layers of sadness and degradation, I felt something stir deep within me. A flicker of defiance. The thought struck me with the force of a thunderclap. They thought they could erase me, but I was built on secrets. I would not fade quietly into obscurity. As the laughter continued to echo around me, I made a silent promise to myself. I would not let them define my existence or dictate my path forward. I would rise from this moment of pain, reclaim my dignity, and reveal the hidden strength they had always underestimated. As I steadied my breath, resolutely refusing to let the tears fall, I knew that this humiliation would not be the end of me. It would be my catalyst, igniting a fire within that had long been dormant. I would uncover the truth, and I would reclaim my life. After that devastating moment in the parlor, everything shifted beneath me. I found myself thrust into an exile of my own making, a purgatory defined not by physical distance but by an emotional chasm stretching between me and the family I had once loved fiercely. Each day passed in a blur, my existence whittled down to quiet moments of solitude that echoed loudly in the cavern of my heart. The home that had once been a sanctuary now felt like a prison, the walls closing in on me with every passing hour. The first few nights were the hardest. The shadows in my room were particularly heavy, pulling at my memories as I lay under the covers, trying to find sleep. I would lay in bed wide awake, tracing the outlines of the ceiling until the familiar textures became almost comforting. My thoughts inevitably drifted back to the conversations lost beneath the cacophony of betrayal, echoes of laughter shared over family dinners, the joy of watching my son's milestones, each moment now tainted by a bitterness I couldn't shake. I remember how we used to gather around the table, how the clinking of glasses and the rich aroma of roasted chicken filled the air. Joy seeped from our very pores, wrapping around us like a warm blanket. I'd spent hours creating those moments, painstaking because they mattered deeply to me. Yet, as I sat in my small, drab room, the isolation permeated every inch, forcing me to confront the painful truth. I had given up so much for a family that so easily cast me aside. One evening, I found myself perched by the window in that small room, gazing out at the garden Robert had lovingly cultivated. From this angle I saw it all. The roses blooming in radiant reds and luscious pinks, the wildflowers dancing with perceived freedom, and the ancient oak tree standing stoic against the wind. Yet, in viewing such life and vibrancy, I couldn't help but feel an acute pang of longing. Each petal seemed to mourn the dreams I had sacrificed, the career in architecture I had abandoned, my passion slowly suffocating under the weight of family expectations. As I recalled the warmth my family had offered in happier times, I could visualize Catherine lurking in the background, her smile a mask for her deeper ambitions. Even then, I had sensed the sharpness behind her charm, the way her laughter could slice through the most joyous conversations, leaving a cold wake behind. I remembered her criticisms, wrapped in an almost sweet tone, but they had always been loud enough to be heard. "Eleanor, dear, you should really stick to more pressing matters. Nurturing is such a womanly job." Such condescension hidden beneath veils of politeness. Days bled into weeks, and the solitude turned the sorrow into a dull ache, one I was forced to carry with me each day, even as I began to plot my next steps in this new reality. I flipped through old photo albums, each page a tapestry woven with love and loss. I could almost hear the laughter captured in those images, the flutter of wings that had taken flight long before. But mixed within those sweet moments were the bitter reminders of Catherine's venom. Every uncomfortable family dinner where she made sure I felt lesser, every sidelong glance that hinted at her concealed disdain. In an attempt to drown the sorrow, I immersed myself in these memories, flitting between nostalgia and heartbreak. It was in this fog of memories that I first sensed the ember of defiance. I would not allow this indignation to define me. I refused to become a mere relic of this family's narrative. I waded through the emotions, examining my choices and sacrifices, and slowly a realization unfurled, a burning desire for reclamation. One fateful afternoon, while rummaging through Robert's belongings, searching desperately for comfort, I stumbled upon a small, ornate box buried beneath a pile of dusty paperwork. My heart raced as curiosity piqued at the sight of untouched relics. It was as if Robert himself had whispered down through the ages, urging me to unveil the mysteries he left behind. Hesitant yet eager, I ventured to pry it open, fingers trembling in anticipation. Inside, I found mementos of our life together, photos, trinkets, letters exchanged long ago when love still felt infinitely uncomplicated. But what caught my breath was a small, intricate key shimmered in the depths of the box, its engraving fascinating yet cryptic. I examined it closely, my heart racing with the sudden realization that it was not merely ornamental. It was functional, potentially a conduit to the hidden parts of my life that had been obscured. What door would it unlock? What secrets lay waiting behind it? As I turned the key over in my palm, I felt an ignition inside me. It was a sign, a glimmer of hope, whispering promises of a future yet to be carved. The lawyer confirmed over the phone that the documents were legitimate, Mr. Thompson had said earlier that day, after I recalled my husband's propensity for secrecy about his business dealings. An exhilarating thought settled in. There was a chance, an opportunity resting in that key, to put the pieces of my future back together, to reclaim my place in a life I had once cherished. Determined to follow this lead, I picked up the phone, dialing Mr. Thompson's number again. The moment he greeted me, I sensed the energy crackling between us. I shared the discovery of the key, unsure of his response. But rather than skepticism, I was met with palpable excitement. "Eleanor, this could change everything for you. If Robert had intentions of setting aside assets for you, this key must lead you to them," he exclaimed, his voice steeped in conviction. With a sense of urgency building between us, I felt each second expand, each heartbeat quickening my resolve. What should I do next? I pressed, feeling the weight of my dormant ambitions awakening within me. Find out what that key unlocks, and let's make sure you have everything you need to reclaim your rightful place. I can assist you with any paperwork or investigations needed to protect your interests," he assured with a confidence that instilled further courage within me. This realization swelled in me until it nearly radiated. I had not only unearthed a physical key, but the emotional keys to my past, to reclaim the life I had given everything up for. Standing at the window, my gaze fixed on the gardens below, I let my longing transform into fierce determination. Those vibrant blossoms now mirrored the rekindling of my spirit. I was not merely a shadow, but a woman reborn. I tucked the key into my pocket, my fingers wrapping around it tightly, feeling its solid presence, a grounding weight. I would delve into this discovery, follow the thread he had left for me, and unlock a path to unveil truths that had long been buried. It felt liberating to shed the weight of desolation, to hoist my head high, filled with purpose once more. This was merely the beginning. My heart brimmed with anticipation. Yes, I had been pushed into exile, but I would return, burning bright, with vengeance and grace. The days that followed the discovery of the key felt electrifying. There was a palpable energy coursing through me, igniting every corner of my spirit that had felt dim and lost. My pulse quickened with each thought of what awaited me, the potential revelations filling me with a mixture of trepidation and excitement. Partnering with Mr. Thompson, I felt a sense of possibility I hadn't embraced in years. On the morning of our important meeting, I carefully selected an outfit that communicated my determination. A tailored white blouse paired with navy slacks, simple yet professional, reflecting the clarity I yearned for in my life. Every step I took reflected my commitment to reclaim what was mine, as if I could visually bridge the gap between my past self and the empowered woman I was determined to become. When I arrived at the cafe where I had agreed to meet Mr. Thompson, the familiar scent of rich brewed coffee and baked pastries filled the air. I walked in, my confidence bolstered by the warm ambiance, and spotted him already seated at a corner table, poring over what appeared to be legal documents. His face lit up with an encouraging smile as I approached. "Eleanor, you look wonderful," he said, his enthusiasm in stark contrast to my stormy heart. "Thank you. I'm ready to dive in," I replied, seated across from him, excitement bubbling beneath the surface. Without delay, Mr. Thompson spread out a map on the table and began to trace lines leading to various properties, potential investments Robert might have concealed. "About that key," he began, his eyes gleaming with determination. "We need to uncover what it unlocks. Robert was known for keeping his investments out of sight, and this key could be the key to your future." "What steps do we take?" I asked, eager to take charge of this unraveling mystery. Mr. Thompson leaned in, energized by our shared objective. "Consider anywhere Robert frequented for business, any family properties, especially those he discussed more privately." Suddenly, a spark ignited within me. "There's a cabin upstate that we seldom visited, but Robert always referred to it as a great investment opportunity." I remembered, a mix of nostalgia and hope washing over me. It hadn't been on my mind in years, but the memory was clear, detailed, one of the few times he had shared a personal thought. "Perfect, that could be crucial. Let's plan to check it out this weekend," he suggested, a noticeable excitement filling his voice. As the weekend drew closer, I felt a surge of empowerment along with anxious anticipation. The prospect of combing through Robert's secrets made my heart race. Would I find something that would finally clarify the chaos of the last several months? The thought propelled me with determination. When Saturday arrived, the weather gleamed favorably. Clear skies above enhanced the exhilaration that enveloped me. As we drove through the picturesque countryside, the lush scenery painted a calm backdrop, which contrasted sharply with my racing mind filled with questions and possibilities. Arriving at the cabin, a sense of nostalgia enveloped me. The weathered wood of the structure felt familiar yet foreign. It was both a sacred retreat and a reminder of lost family moments. I took a deep breath and steeled myself for what we might find within. It was time to face the remains of a life I had fought so hard to piece together. Inside, the air was thick with memories. The soothing scent of pine mixed with echoes of past laughter reverberated against the walls. As Mr. Thompson and I moved throughout the living space, I couldn't help but remember the warmth this place once held. It was a sanctuary filled with shared meals, games, and camaraderie. Standing there, however, I could not ignore the weight of abandonment that hung heavily in the air. "We should check the master bedroom for anything unusual," Mr. Thompson advised. I nodded, and together we navigated the stairs, each step bringing me closer to the heart of the past, which I felt lay heavy beneath the layers of time. The master bedroom appeared untouched, its furniture draped in a fine layer of dust. Mr. Thompson approached a vintage dresser, its wood polished but faded. "Let's see what's hidden here," he said, rifling through the dresser's drawers. Behind them, he discovered a small locked compartment printed with delicate carvings, nearly invisible in the faded light. "That could be it," I exclaimed, pointing, an electric thrill vibrating through my fingertips as I rushed forward, heart pounding. "This looks promising. Do you recall anything about this lock?" Mr. Thompson asked, examining it closely. "Nothing specific, just the key," I replied, pulling the key from my pocket and placing it in his outstretched hand. With careful precision, he inserted the key into the lock. I leaned forward, eyes fixed intently on the mechanics of the old lock, half expecting it to crumble under the pressure. When the latch clicked open, it sounded louder than the beating of our hearts, a sound infused with promise. I held my breath as we opened the compartment, revealing neatly stacked papers, documents that had remained forgotten in this quiet corner of our lives. The first paper I extracted was a title deed, but as I flipped through the pages, I gasped, recognizing various investment reports and letters that detailed financial dealings I had been unaware of. This changes everything," I whispered, my heart racing at the sight of what they could mean. Each new page unveiled another layer of Robert's life, a life where I finally found a semblance of clarity amidst the chaos. "Eleanor, this is incredible. This confirms everything you suspected," Mr. Thompson said, enthusiasm palpable in his voice as he scanned the contents. "These documents validate that Robert had a plan to secure your future, to safeguard your interests all along." The joy swelling within me felt electric. The shadows that had clouded my vision were dispersing. The weight of uncertainty I had carried for months began to lift, replaced by the undeniable truth. I was worth more than I had been led to believe. "There's power in this knowledge. This is my chance to reclaim my life," I announced, resolve hardening within me. No more would I be a mere shadow, waiting for someone else to determine my future. As I tucked the key back into my pocket, a wave of determination washed over me. I would honor Robert's intentions and not let them get buried again. I had the documents, the proof, and now the blueprint for my next steps. With newfound resolve, I was ready to confront whatever implications lay ahead. The journey to reclaim my dignity had truly begun. I wouldn't just uncover Robert's hidden past. I was prepared to redefine my own narrative with every ounce of strength I could muster. This was the dawn of a new chapter, charging forth into uncharted territories with courage blazing in my heart. What lay beyond this moment only fueled my resolve to turn the page, a reminder that the true hero of my story was finally stepping into the light. The thrill of discovery swirled within me as I stood in the cabin, clutching the documents that promised a new chapter in my life. With the revelation of Robert's hidden assets weighing heavily on my heart, I knew I couldn't let the opportunity slip through my fingers. I was armed with secrets that could potentially change my fate, and I intended to wield that power wisely. After our exploration of the cabin, Mr. Thompson and I returned to my house, each of us carrying our share of excitement and unease. Sitting in the living room, I spread the documents across the coffee table, the papers trembling slightly in the aftermath of the weekend's adrenaline. I sat across from Mr. Thompson, the air thick with the kind of tension that comes before an important decision. "We need to figure out how best to use this information," Mr. Thompson began, his brows knit in concentration. "It's not simply about knowing what Robert had. It's also about how you can leverage this to reclaim what's rightfully yours." I nodded, my mind racing through possibility after possibility. The stack of papers represented more than just numbers and names. They were evidence of a life meticulously crafted, a life I now realized I had been denied for far too long. First, I want to analyze each document. "We need to understand the nature of these investments," he suggested, tapping a finger thoughtfully on the table. "Let's separate them into categories: assets, properties, financial accounts." As I sorted through the papers, I recalled memories that haunted me, reminiscing about Robert's discussions over dinner, the vague terms he used, and the obscure references to investments. They began to take on a clearer picture. I felt as if I were peeling back layers of a carefully concealed truth. "Here," I pointed out, holding up a detailed investment report. "This suggests he had considerable real estate holdings in various states. This could give us a foundation to argue my rightful claim." "Mr. Moore," Thompson's eyes widened in realization. "Yes, if he maintained properties under different names, we could argue for your share based on partnership structures and claims he made to protect your interests." As we continued outlining each page, I started to feel empowered. I was no longer just a victim of circumstances. I was a woman reclaiming her narrative. This realization was punctuated by the sound of Mr. Thompson's phone ringing. With purpose, I continued sifting through each document, head held high, my mind racing ahead. "Sorry, I need to take this," he said, stepping outside for a moment. I welcomed the quiet, grateful for the opportunity to gather my thoughts. Alone with the papers, the moment felt sacred, like I was standing on the precipice of something that could redefine my existence. While I waited, my gaze drifted around the room, landing on family photographs that had gone unnoticed for so long. I had always been the one smiling in those images, yet they no longer felt as familiar as they once did. Now they seemed like relics of a history I was determined to reshape. The weight of betrayal from Robin and Catherine ached in my chest again. It was essential to do this, not just for me, but to confront the lies they had spun into my life. When Mr. Thompson returned, he wore an expression of urgency. "Eleanor, that was important. A contact of mine might have leads on Robert's other transactions. We should explore them immediately," he urged, eyes flicking to the papers we had spread out. With his enthusiasm, I felt my own fires rekindle. "Let's do it," I agreed. "Where do we begin?" "Those properties might be listed under aliases or corporate names. We should check with the local authorities, maybe use property databases," he suggested. The thought of digging deeper thrilled me, yet a flicker of hesitation rippled through my resolve. What if I uncovered something I wasn't ready to confront? But then I remembered everything I had been through, and the doubts fell away. I wanted the truth. I demanded it. We quickly devised a plan. Mr. Thompson would reach out to his contacts for information about any businesses Robert had engaged with, while I started investigating the properties tied to my family's past. I felt invigorated. Each thread we pulled opened another pathway, leading us closer to uncovering the layers of deceit and misunderstanding. Our investigation unfolded like a meticulously crafted puzzle as the days passed. Meetings with property record clerks, phone calls with lawyers, and late-night planning sessions filled my calendar. I pored over databases and legal paperwork, searching for anything that would strengthen my case. Slowly, I began to construct a picture of the real estate empire Robert had quietly managed, uncovering properties in scenic locations I had never known belonged to my family. One night, after hours of poring over documents, Mr. Thompson and I found ourselves seated in my living room once again, exhausted but exhilarated. "This is bigger than we thought," he noted, gesturing to our notes scattered across the table. "You deserve to see this through. and you have the evidence to assert your claims now." I ran my fingers over the most recent additions to our findings, titles of properties, correspondence related to purchases, all stamped with dates that confirmed Robert's strategic planning. "It's time," I murmured, the words almost spilling from my lips before I could fully form the thought. "What are you thinking?" Mr. Thompson asked, lifting his gaze to meet mine. "We should confront Robin and Catherine. It's time they knew I was no longer a passive participant in this charade." "I have the documents to prove it," I declared. A mixture of excitement and fear coursed through me. I was ready to face them, ready to uncover their attempts to erase me from my own life story. "Are you sure?" Mr. Thompson's tone was cautious, an undertone of concern weaving through his words. "It could get messy. I know it will. But I can't be afraid anymore. I won't be pushed aside," I replied, determination solidifying my resolve. The timeline of everything that had transpired began to crystallize in my mind. The confrontation would stir long-suppressed emotions, but it was necessary. The truth had to surface, and it would be I who brought it to light. Mr. Thompson nodded slowly, the support in his expression fortifying my spirit. "Then let's prepare. If you're going to do this, we'll need everything organized. Let's ensure you're ready to walk into that meeting not just with documents, but also with the confidence of knowing your worth." With strategic planning ahead, I transformed from a mere homebody replaying moments of past regret into a warrior ready for battle. I felt alive with purpose as we mapped out our approach. By building a clearer understanding of Robert's legacy, I'd lay a foundation beneath my feet, enabling me to rise up against those who underestimated my resolve. With each passing day, the faint glimmer of vengeance turned into a fierce blaze. This wasn't just about reclaiming finances. It was about reasserting my voice, igniting the fire of all that my heart had once known. The time had come, not just to discover the truth, but to fight for it. The days leading up to the confrontation felt like a storm building on the horizon, one that promised to unleash every pent-up emotion I had stifled for far too long. Each planning session with Mr. Thompson fortified my resolve. Together, we crafted a strategy that would ensure I stepped into that meeting with not just evidence, but the confidence and strength that came from reclaiming my narrative. We carefully organized the documents, investment reports, property deeds, and letters that painted a staggering picture of Robert's intentions. It was vital that I presented myself not merely as someone wronged, but as a woman armed with irrefutable proof of my rightful place in the tapestry of our family's legacy. "Eleanor, remember, you're not just confronting them, you're asserting your role in this family," Mr. Thompson reminded me as we reviewed the binder full of documents. His words were a lifeline, grounding me in this swirling sea of anxiety. The night before the meeting, insomnia plagued me. My mind raced with scenarios of what might unfold. How would Robin react? Would Catherine deny everything? I sat on the edge of my bed, the binder cradled in my lap, running my fingers over the pages as I reminded myself of the truths they held, truths that would finally expose the darkness. Morning broke with a chill that felt almost fitting for the confrontation ahead. I dressed intentionally, donning a deep emerald dress that made me feel powerful and grounded. I even added a pendant Robert had gifted me early in our marriage, a simple gold circle meant to symbolize continuity and legacy. Today, that symbol took on new meaning. It was a reminder of who I was and what I was determined to reclaim. As I arrived at Robin and Catherine's house, the butterflies in my stomach morphed into a more solid, fiery resolve. The beautiful facade of their home now loomed before me like a fortress, a place bedecked with the trappings of wealth, reminders of what I had been relegated away from. I stepped out of the car, the sound of gravel crunching under my feet, echoing like the drumbeats of an impending showdown. "Are you ready?" "Mr. Thompson asked, his voice steady. I took a deep breath and nodded. "Let's do this." We walked to the front door, and I rang the bell with a level of certainty that surprised me. The anticipation hung in the air like a palpable tension, and when the door swung open, it was Robin standing there, his expression shifting from confusion to guarded curiosity. "Eleanor," he said, tension creeping into his tone. "What are you doing here?" "I need to speak with you and Catherine. It's important," I replied, my voice firm. Moments later, Catherine joined us, her eyes narrowed with suspicion as they led us into their living room. The decor was pristine, a sharp contrast to the tumult raging inside me. I would take back what was mine in a place they had crafted to appear as if I didn't belong. "Is this a social visit or do you have business here?" Robin inquired, trying to mask the underlying challenge in his demeanor. "Actually, it's both," I began, grounding myself in the moment. "I'm here to talk about the key, the investments, and most importantly, Robert's intentions." Catherine exchanged a quick, confused glance with Robin, and that was my cue. I opened the binder, laying it on their coffee table, the contents spilling into view like a waterfall of truth. These documents, every title deed, every correspondence, outline the properties and assets Robert secured for our family and for me. "What are you talking about?" Robin scoffed, eyes darting over the papers. "This is ridiculous. You're trying to stir up trouble over old memories." "Not old memories, truths you've hidden from me," I countered, my voice rising slightly. "Robert cared about my future. He intended for me to be a part of this family's legacy." "There's nothing for you here, Eleanor. Those documents mean nothing," Catherine chimed in, her voice laced with disdain. "You had your chance and threw it all away." A steely resolve gripped me. "You don't get to decide that anymore. I'm here to claim my rights, not just to the properties, but to the dignity you tried to strip from me. I have the evidence to prove that Robert had plans for me, and I won't let you erase that legacy. Not anymore." The tension in the room escalated, the air thick with unresolved emotions. I could see disbelief dancing in their eyes, but there was also a flicker of fear, a realization that they might have underestimated me. "I have all the correspondence tying his investments to me," I said, flipping through the papers, revealing the strongest documents one by one. There was a letter in Robert's unmistakable handwriting detailing his intentions to ensure I was taken care of, an expression of love I had never thought I'd find again in such a manner. Catherine shifted uncomfortably, the color draining from her face as she grasped the implications of what I was revealing. "This is absurd," she mumbled, though uncertainty coated her words. "Is it?" I retorted, holding her gaze, my heart steadying. "Admit it, both of you feared my return. You thought if you isolated me, I would remain powerless. You think you can just walk back into our lives and take over?" Robin challenged, but his bravado faltered as he caught the fire in my eyes. "Not take over, but reclaim what has always been mine," I responded fiercely. "I won't let you dictate my worth any longer. You might have tried to erase me, but Robert saw my value, and I am here to ensure that nothing goes unrecognized." A heavy silence enveloped the room, broken only by the sound of pages turning as I continued to lay out the evidence of our shared history and Robert's foresight. It was as if the conversation shifted. My voice became more resonant as emotions poured out. Years of abandonment, betrayal, and strength all woven into the words I spoke. Finally, Robin stepped back, the jarring realization of my determination hitting him hard. "What do you want?" he asked, his tone softer than it had been. "I want what Robert intended, a fair acknowledgement of my place in this family, and a chance to be part of the legacy," I declared, the fire in my heart matching the fierce resolve in my voice. "You can either stand with me or against me, but know this: I will be taking action based on what I have discovered here." In the quiet that followed, I felt a shift, the tide turning in my favor, like the first rays of dawn slicing through the darkness. I no longer felt afraid. I would no longer flounder in the shadows. It was my time, a time where I would write my own future, step into my power, and transform the very narrative that once suppressed me. This was just the beginning of a long journey ahead, a fight to reclaim not just these properties, but also my dignity and place within my own story. The tension in the room thickened, drawing all focus to me, the center of a storm that had been brewing for years. I could see the disbelief swirling in Robin and Catherine's eyes, along with the desperate attempts to regain control over a situation they had thought was long settled. But I was no longer just the quiet companion. I was the co-author of my family's legacy, demanding recognition. "Let's talk about this reasonably, Eleanor," Robin suggested, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. "No one's denying that you have a claim to some of these things." "That's right," I interrupted, feeling the fire rise again within me. "But no one should be surprised that I'm standing here now. If you thought I would walk away quietly after everything Robert put in place, you were sorely mistaken. I just want to understand your intentions. You've been gone for so long," Catherine said, her tone laced with condescension. "You've had your chance. Robert and I tried to keep this family together in your absence. What makes you think you can just reinsert yourself now? Because this is not just about me asserting my rights. This is about Robert's choices," I replied, my words laced with conviction. He believed in family and making provisions for it. He entrusted me with that legacy. I'm not an outsider. I'm the rightful heir. Robin shifted uncomfortably, glancing at Catherine as if searching for some unspoken agreement. But the weight of their doubt was crushing, and I needed them to understand that this wasn't merely about ownership, but about acknowledgement, about respect. "I need each of you to listen very carefully," I continued, feeling a calm fury surge within me. "I am prepared to take legal action. I've already looked into the process for claiming my inheritance and my share of the properties. I will not back down. This isn't a negotiation. I'm here to reclaim what has always belonged to me." The silence that followed felt like a tangible force. I could see their shock transforming into anxiety as the implications of my words sank in. With every passing second, the tables were turning, and for once, I felt empowered by the weight of the truth. "You don't know what you're getting into," Catherine finally said, her voice trembling. "We can make this very difficult for you." "Indeed, but understand that it is you who have made this difficult for yourselves," I replied, locking eyes with her. "You likely underestimated the strength of my resolve. You may be able to manipulate situations for your gain, but I have the rock-solid foundation of truth on my side." Robin's demeanor shifted again, fear evident in his posture. "Okay, let's say you have a point. Let's say Robert intended for you to have a share of everything. How do you think this will affect our family? It will tear us apart." "And leaving me out of it has already begun to do that," I shot back, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "By trying to erase me, you've created this divide." "I'm here to mend those rifts, not to make them worse." I could see a glimmer of realization beginning to dawn in Robin's eyes, an acknowledgement of the consequences of their actions. Yet the pride would not allow him to admit it outright. I needed to keep pushing, to show them that this wasn't a battle for me alone. It was about justice. My lawyer will be reaching out to finalize arrangements, outlining claims on the properties listed in these documents. I continued, "Consider this your opportunity to come to terms with the truth before things escalate further. You can either cooperate, or I will proceed with legal action." "I can't believe this is happening," Robin muttered, the disbelief palpable as he registered the seriousness of my intent. "All these years, we thought—" "Does that matter now?" I interjected, sensing his fear morph into guilt. "What matters is moving forward, doing what's right for everyone involved. I'm ready to take this suited path, and I suggest you prepare yourselves for the consequences of this chapter." "This isn't how family is supposed to work, Eleanor." Catherine trembled, her voice shifting from defensive to fearful. "Families support one another." "Exactly," I countered, leaning forward, embodying my strength. "And isolating me should never have been seen as support. Families protect and uplift, but you both tried to diminish me, to silence me. And that ends today." A silence enveloped us, the realization that the shield they had relied on to push me away was crumbling under the weight of my presence. I was no longer a ghost in their lives. I was flesh, blood, and voice, demanding acknowledgement and recompense. With a finality that echoed through the room, I closed the binder slowly, laying a resolute hand on top of it. "This is your opportunity to do better. Don't squander it." I turned to leave, pulling in my breath to steady the storm of emotions within. Each step away from their home felt lighter than the last, as if I was shedding layers of doubt and fear. The confrontation had been a catalyst. I no longer saw shadows of betrayal, only my growing strength. The thunderous weight of retaliation had shifted, and for the first time in a long while, I felt I could breathe. In the days that followed, I gathered my thoughts and my emotions. The truth was no longer a weapon to use against me. It was my armor. I reached out to my lawyer, prepared to proceed with actions that felt both empowering and daunting. What had begun as mere reconnections of family ties had morphed into a reclaiming of dignity, legacy, and worth. I had ignited a fire within that could not be snuffed out. My name, my history, and my place in that family deserved nothing less than recognition. The journey ahead would be laborious, but with each breath, I embraced the battle. My spirit soared, emboldened by the moment of confrontation, and ready to forge ahead into the uncharted territory of healing, justice, and restoration of my rightful place within my family's story. The months following my confrontation were a whirlwind of legal battles and emotional growth that felt both liberating and daunting. As I worked with Mr. Thompson, I navigated the complexities of reclaiming my rightful place in Robert's legacy. Each document we reviewed, each conversation we had, reminded me that I was finally stepping into the light, no longer a silent specter in my own life. I remember sitting in Mr. Thompson's office, surrounded by professionals who believed in my cause. "We have a strong case, Eleanor," he assured me, his confidence contagious. I nodded, a sense of pride swelling within me. This was not just about property or money. It was about restoring my dignity. During these preparations, I began to reconnect with friends I had distanced myself from while navigating my difficult family dynamics. Their warmth and support encircled me, and laughter filled the air again, a refreshing balm to my weary soul. Together, we planned a small gathering to celebrate the new direction my life was taking. On the day of the gathering, my home buzzed with energy as friends flooded in, and I felt a sense of joy that had been absent for so long. I raised my glass, standing before them in my living room filled with laughter and light. "To new beginnings," I announced, my voice steady, "to being heard, respected, and living our truths." Cheers erupted, and I could feel their joy merging with my own, a beautiful symphony of celebration. As days turned into weeks, the date of my legal mediation approached. I felt a mixture of anticipation and anxiety, but deep down, my resolve was unshakable. I wasn't just entering a legal room, I was stepping into my power. Finally, on the day of mediation, everything I had fought for came to a head. As I walked into the conference room, flanked by my support team, my heart raced. It was time to face Robin and Catherine again. Not as the discarded family member, but as the rightful heir demanding recognition. The tension was palpable as we took our seats. I could feel their eyes on me, assessing, uncertain. "This isn't just a matter of loss for you," I asserted firmly, meeting their gazes. "This is about the future of our family. I will not let you undermine Robert's legacy or mine. They thought they had left me with nothing. What would you have done? Drop your answer in the comments and follow this channel. During those darkest days, I found a framework that changed everything. See the first comment for the complete guide. If this story is touching your heart, please consider sending a super chat to support the channel. Are you enjoying this journey with me? Show your support by sending super stickers. Did you feel that sense of justice? Show your appreciation by clicking the super thanks button.